What's up, guys? Welcome back to Engine25 Reviews. As always, my name is Brandon. Joined with a new guest today. This is my buddy Brian. Met him back in our college theater days. I was doing tech,
Way
and he
back
was
when.
yeah he was on stage a lot. How you doing today, Brian?
Doing pretty good, thank you. Yeah, excited to
Yeah,
be here.
happy to have you. Today we're talking about Jordan Peele's Nope. Um, about a week ago. It's July 20, 20
Hmm.
budget of 8 million. Box office a weekend is only saying $62 million, and I'm inclined to think that's a little low. At least I
I
hope
think
so.
so. I think I read something today that said that it was. I don't know exactly what, but it sounded higher. It sounded higher. Like it's doing well, at least. It's definitely doing well.
Don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, but League of Super Pets overtook it for this weekend, but that's not a big deal for a horror movie, really. Even the 68 million is still relatively cheap, so it's going to be fine. Um, what have you, Jordan Peele? Earlier in his career, mostly known for sitcom. You know, he was one half of the duo Key and Peele. Then later on, he
Yes.
started hosting Twilight Zone, and he started
Yes.
directing his own movie. So, what's your experience with Jordan Peele's work before this?
Um, I'm actually a huge fan of Key and Peele.
Yeah,
I've
me
seen
too.
every season. I've actually both of them together. They kind of inspired a lot of um, certain aspects of how I see myself as an actor, or what I try to aspire to when it comes to improv. And I've always been really impressed with Jordan's ability to transform himself. His Megan character is still one of my favorite characters in the entire show. And yeah, I've just been a big fan ever since, and have been following his career and his trajectory. And I was actually really surprised when he came out with his first movie, and just how good it was. So to see where he's going now is definitely pretty amazing for sure.
No, yeah, it's totally surprised. You know, um, I had seen some Key and Peele
Mm-hmm.
before Get Out, and
Mm-hmm.
then Get Out. Like at first, it kind of slipped under my radar, and then few months afterwards, like everybody was talking about it. I was like, "Wait, the Key and Peele guy? Are you like?" Then I watched Get Out,
Yeah.
and it totally blew me away. And then I watched the rest of Key and Peele, and then
Mm-hmm.
um I did you say you hadn't seen Us?
I hadn't seen Us.
Okay,
That's the only one that kind of like slipped through for me. I've heard nothing but good things about it. As we'll talk about, I feel like from what I hear out of his three films, this one, while still good, is the least favorite. I loved it. I thought it was
how about
great.
Nope?
Um, about Nope,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
But yeah, I have yet to see Us, so
I
still behind on that one.
Okay, and I don't want to spoil too much for you, but like I love Us, but
I
there
have
it
to.
kind of, my opinion, shows its cards like
Mm-hmm.
super early, like the first 3 minutes. Like it kind of
Okay.
reveal like it makes what makes the twist kind of super obvious. But the movie's like super effective. Like it's straight up one of the scariest movies I've seen in a long time. Um, but yeah, so the movie's fantastic. I
Uh,
just wish that I hadn't kind of figured it out right at the um
right.
but now we have Nope, which is yet another horror film from a guy that did comedy for so many years. But yet again, like a very different one from his other two. Us and Get Out are very, very different from each other. Uh, and Nope is yet again like kind of a departure from that work, but still absolutely I love this movie. I had a great
Yeah.
time.
I'm a big fan of sci-fi. Sci-fi is like one of my favorite genres. Star Wars, the 9 yards. So, and I'm a big, I'm a big alien buff. They
Me
are
too.
out there. So definitely the whole play on this the idea with aliens and the idea of just that sci-fi element while still adding that terror in there, I latched onto immediately. So this was definitely something that was in my interest for sure. Yeah.
And one thing, like, I guess the trailers kinda hinted at it, but I didn't expect to laugh so much, like, as I did, like, especially
Yeah.
Kiki Palmer is a delight.
Yeah, well, I knew once she was in it that it was going to be something that she's hilarious, and she plays so well. I haven't really seen a lot of her stuff, to be honest, but I know she's been trending recently, especially with this and with Buzz Lightyear, and just to like see how far she's grown from what I remember seeing her in, which I think was like what Aquila and the Bee.
Yeah, like, and she was in, like,
That was
Barbershop
like
2 and Akeelah and the
right,
Bee, and
right. And to see where she's gone and where she is now, it was she definitely sold that film for me. And of course, Daniel Kaluuya is great, and Stephen Yeun, and, like the whole cast is solid.
Steven
So
Yeun
it's gonna
from
be
Walking Dead. I love that dude.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, a treasure. They all are. So yeah, definitely.
Daniel Kaluuya. Don't
Yeah,
the A personal favorite of mine, Keith David, has a small part in here.
yeah.
Um,
A very short part, but yeah.
yeah, but he's in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
keep it kind of even, still general terms early on. Is there anything that, like, didn't quite work for you that you or, like, or just out of curiosity? Because there's some interesting themes here that we'll talk about in the spoilers, but
Right. I don't know if I would say didn't quite work. I would say there's a lot of like concept things that had I not had an understanding of the original theme, the idea of, spectacle and the chasing that clout would have been harder for me rather to digest towards the end, especially with the way things unfold in the last leg of the movie. But now that going into understanding what it was meant to portray and kind of like the themes that he was going for or that Jordan Peele was going for and kind of the story that he was trying to tell, it helped me digest it a lot better. So I wouldn't say there was any big moments that didn't like really work for me. There were a couple moments where I got a little confused only because I don't even feel comfortable saying that. It's like I was making sure I was trying to follow the plot, you know what I mean? And it
right.
wasn't that the plot was hard to follow. It was just like for me, I was trying to like understand, some of the specifics, some of the callbacks and that they would that they would allude to from like the beginning of the movie throughout the movie. Like with looking, animals in the eye and stuff like that, and specifics in that nature, but nothing I would say stood out to me as something that I did not like um as a whole,
Sure,
yeah,
yeah, I hear you.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I will say that while I like there's some flashbacks in the movie that have
Hmm.
to do with, Steven Yeun's character and some stuff that happened to him, like, he was a child actor, his
Yeah.
character, is an adult now, but who had been a child actor, like, in the '90s, and there's some flashbacks regarding, like, a traumatic experience he had on set, that kinda it's, like, related in a, like, a thematic way, but I felt like that stuff wasn't really tied into the movie as well as it could be, even though it's, like, it's straight up it's terrifying, but,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't it's and I don't know, maybe we could've used, like, another chunk of it, like, just a little bit. I don't know, there seemed it felt kinda disconnected to me because he's
That's
not the main
fair.
character.
Yeah.
He's this guy that Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer's characters, they own a horse ranch, and
Mhm.
they rent horses to movie productions, and this guy owns, like, a local theme park that's basically a Western, and he's buying he's borrowing and buying up their horses. So, that's how they know each other, so there's a through line there. They both work in the show business, but, it's like it wasn't Yoon's character is kind of like a supporting cast guy, and this flashbacks about him seemed like thematically related, but didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like it connected to the main threads very well. Maybe that's just me, but
That's fair. To be honest, the first few minutes of the film with that scene, uh, um, I, I almost thought it was one of those production trailers, or like those production intros.
right,
Like Paramount or whatever. I kind
yeah,
of thought it was like just an extended one, and then it clipped to the actual movie at the start of the movie, and then I didn't realize that that part was related to the film until later on. Um, I can understand it could have been tied together a little bit better, but going back to the theme, I feel like why I understand why it was there. Like I understand
me
what it
too.
was what it
Like
was trying to portray,
I don't
but
think it
yeah, it
should
was a
be. I don't
little
think they should take anything out. Like maybe
yeah,
rearrange it or give us even a little more, so it felt more,
yeah,
more kind of a more related to the main characters as opposed to this. But, um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, and maybe I'm just picking it. That's the biggest complaint I have about this. Then we're having a good time. Um,
100%.
I'm gonna go ahead and hit the spoiler button. So
Right.
here, listeners, here on out, we're talking about basically anything. So be aware. Um, while we're on the subject of these flashbacks, those scenes with chimpanzee horrifying.
Yes.
And s
The one of the biggest moments that terrified me was the fist bump when he goes when the
yes.
chimpanzee goes for the I forget its name goes for the fist bump. It's like you don't really know. It was terrifying and tragic at the same time because like you could I don't know, like I had sympathy for the animal, obviously the animal that did this horrific thing, you know what I mean, but like I had sympathy for the animal in the sense that it was essentially being exploited, right? And it was it was a tool for the show, but obviously it's done this horrific thing. It snapped, and it went crazy. Which at first I thought was because I thought I might be getting ahead of myself, but there's a scene with the shoe, and
Right.
it's standing on its end, and I thought that had something to do with like the alien invasion, like back in the past, that maybe you know somehow had something to do with the chimpanzee going crazy. Um, I'm not entirely sure if that was the case. I think it was just the balloons popping, and of course the
I thought
sound.
that's where they were going to, but they didn't tie it together. Like
Right,
maybe we're supposed to feel that way, but they didn't like confirm it.
right, because it was a very like why is it standing? Like how is it balancing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? I that part kind of I would say it would be like the one part that did confuse me a little bit, like how that ties in. I think if I were to make a guess, I would think if the draw was that this is it was symbolic of animals, of Stephen Ewan's character trying to tame, or not trying not Stephen Ewan rather, but the show trying to tame an animal, and the dangers of that, and that kind of going crazy, or the animal going crazy, and then the implications of controlling something that can't be tamed,
Right.
which is what happens later with Stephen Ewan's character while he tries to essentially tame this UFO that then eats people. But overall, I can. That was a little bit of a nitpick for me. I can say that, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
And I were the ape's name in the movie is Gordy.
Gordy.
Yeah, and
Yes.
he is played by Barry Notary. Do you know who that is?
No.
He is he's a stunt guy, and
Mhm.
he's basically known for playing apes in any number of things. Like he was in all three of Andy Serkis's Planet of the Apes movies. He was in like the Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Was like an ape in makeup in that. He played King Kong in Kong Skull Island. So he's
Oh
just one of those.
wow.
He's a stunt guy, and he's one of those guys who's known for playing chimpanzees in basically everything.
Yeah, I mean he played it well.
Yeah,
I
dude.
believed him. I was definitely sold.
That's what,
um,
and his name is in the opening credits of the movie. I was like, "Who is Terry Notary in this movie?" Oh, he's the ape. That's who it is, and that turns out
that
that's
makes
who it
sense.
is. Yeah. Um. Uh. So what we're talking about, it's a UFO movie. Uh, um,
Yes,
and
with a twist.
with yes,
The
with a twist. And
UFO
the
is which. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, please, you go.
I was going to say that I actually found that part also really cool. That the idea of the UFO, or the UAP as they're called now, was the actual alien in and of itself. I thought that was a really unique way to play that off, or to that was fascinating to me. Definitely like that for sure.
And and that is kind of how they related this ape thing, right?
Yeah,
They're trying to put like trying to control aspects of nature that we
yeah,
probably can't, and that it comes around with them being horse tamers, right? And
yeah,
there's an incident early in the movie, the spot in the trailer where Kiki Palmer's talking about her ancestor, who was the first the first guy in a moving picture. He's a horse jockey.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so their family has been horse trainers for movies ever since, basically. And there's a scene early on where, she gives the speech and people are like, "Oh, yeah, huh, that's cool, blah, blah, blah." And then they startle the horse, and, like, the horse is it the horse kicked somebody, or, like, there was some kinda accident where they
Yeah,
startle the horse.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Kind
then
of
they
going off the idea that, yeah, it, the dangers of wild animals, or the potential dangers of wild animals.
and it's, backed up with the ape, and then backed up with this, UFO that Stephen Yeun is like, oh, man, I kinda it sucks to even have to say it. So, the horse farm in the movie is having financial troubles. So they're selling horses off to this guy, to the Stephen Yeun, who runs this like Western theme park. And then come to find out he's just feeding the horses to the aliens in order to make the aliens part of his show, basically. And that goes extremely poorly for him.
Yeah, definitely, to say the least.
Yeah. So the really, really haunting visual of like dozens of people being sucked up in a vortex. Like,
Yeah, and the claustrophobia of that. Then the terror, the fact, the other thing that got me were the screams from the people that were heard as the UFO was flying over the house was just terrifying. Because as I think the sound quality of this movie was great. I saw it in IMAX, so
I
like the
saw it in
sound obviously.
Dolby Vision, which like sound is really the main reason you go to that. So it's yeah.
The sound was excellent, and yeah, the UFO was terrifying in and of itself with the sounds that it would make. But that scene where you just hear the screams of all of the people that it just absorbed into itself,
Like,
I
they're still
thought was
alive, and they're going through,
horrifying.
like, some unimaginable horror. Yeah,
Uh,
like, and
yeah,
it's
that was yeah,
really it's, like, really effective in a way that,
yeah,
like, almost surprising these let's,
yeah,
did an episode about Stranger Things a few weeks ago, and
yeah,
it takes, like, tropes of old horror movies and nails them again and makes them scary, like and so did this
yeah,
one. Like, you can't if I tell somebody, like, there's a scene where the alien ship flies over and just, like, it starts raining blood over the house, like, people are like, you're almost gonna laugh at that, like,
yeah.
like, it's, like, a goofy slasher movie thing, but,
But
like,
it
here it really
works.
works, like,
It works. Yeah.
works so like, it's nuts.
It was yeah, I was genuinely terrified for OJ, and when he was in the car just waiting for it to leave. I was like genuinely scared. And then when the horse came through the windshield, of course that would I think there was maybe 5 or 6 people in the movie theater I was in, and I was towards the front, and I definitely jumped, and people behind me laughed because
There were,
yeah,
I don't know if it was 100% full, but it was like I went like the Thursday it opened, and it was a real decently full theater, and yeah, like the horse got like a big jump scare, and then
yeah,
like the chimp got like a lot of like I don't know about gasps or like a lot of audible reaction in the theater, like
yeah,
kind of grossed
yeah,
out stuff. Um, and then Keith David plays their father, and
hmm,
they're really trying to keep their business going because of him, really. Like, it
hmm,
was his thing, and they neither
yeah,
one of them were really into it when they were younger, But now they're trying to, or at least OJ is really trying to keep the ball rolling on it. Um,
Yeah.
and we see like kind of a tragic and like really horrifying scene early on, where Keith David, he's on his
Yeah. Close
horse and
up.
he gets hit in the head somehow, and this like has this gross
I think
head
it's
wound,
it
and
was
like you
a
have to take your dad in the truck to the
yeah.
hospital.
Yeah, that close up got me. I don't do well with body horror, and that close up got me.
Like, and there's not a lot of
Um,
that in this movie, but there are like a couple of
no,
moments that are just really like visually shocking.
yeah, 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 for sure. That was one of them. I think the other part that I it took me a second to kind of like grasp, I guess, is like the final transformation of of the UFO, the UAP, and kind of like trying to understand, because my science fiction brain is like, okay, well, how did it get here? Why is it here? Like, why is
Right.
it this shape? Like, what does that mean? Is it like a jellyfish? Is it like what's going on? But I think, going back to what I was saying earlier about kind of understanding what the themes were that Jordan Peele was trying to get across with the spectacle and chasing the cloud, and it kind of took it. It was easier for me to take it as kind of like a personification of spectacle itself. It's like it's this big, flashy, over the top, thing with freaking streamers for a mouth.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
and
Like it's just literally just them chasing clout, chasing spectacle, which is what they were doing the entire film, and which is what kind of they all wanted to do in their own way. Kiki Palmer's character, with not ever being able to be validated through training, the horse that she wanted, and Stephen Ewan's character with uh, the cancellation of the show that he was a part of as a young child star. So it worked for me, but I could see how certain people not kind of going with that understanding would not get it. You know.
I want to watch it again for a couple of reasons. One of
Hmm.
them is the creature design. The
Yeah.
and it's really interesting. I almost like at when you start to really see the UFO and get up close, and then
Hmm.
like there's a certain point in the movie where it kind of begins to unfurl itself in a way, like,
Hmm.
and they say it's an animal, like it's not a spaceship. It's some kind of
Hmm.
organism, but it's not like anything earthbound that I would describe as alive. Like it's almost like a kite, or like
Yeah.
it's like layers of filament, or not well, words. The
Yeah, like that,
words are
like
failing
yeah,
me in
like
this moment. Like um
no, but yeah, it's like what is it? It's like a
yeah,
giant
like
jellyfish sheet.
yes, it's like sheets, or like that waft
Uh,
in the wind like a kite. And then there's this one um what the one shot that they get of it at the end with the camera in the well, like a
mhm.
it's a tourist trap thing where you it's in the theme park and you look down the well and you crank and you take a picture of yourself. Um, and then like in that image, like it looks like a big butterfly or something.
Yeah,
Like, and that's kind of
yeah,
like when it all came together. But like there's just a lot of really interesting imagery with the way that it's like it's just layers of cloth almost, and they waft in the breeze,
yeah,
and then there's this like at the front of it, there's this like square that's like unfolding with ribbon, and it's just like it's so visually interesting. But and I'm not like it's smarter than me, is what it's saying. Like I
well,
know he's trying to say something with this creature design. And it's like,
yeah,
and I really need to take it in one more time. I think I was trying to go again before we did this, and didn't get a chance.
yeah. I think I read somewhere that someone interpreted it as as like a living camera almost, because they
Maybe.
alluded a lot to the the old style cameras, the hand crank cameras and whatnot. I forget what they're, I don't know what they're called, but those film cameras, and kind of how the shape of the mouth was very square like
Yeah,
a
like
camera
lens.
lens. Yeah, and
Okay.
how that was more maybe like symbolic of that, the interpretation of the spectacle and the cloud. And I was like, that seems
I
pretty
buy that.
solid to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, I get it.
And it does like it has some kind of sensory. system. Like, it only attacks things that are looking at it, but it's also
Mhm.
not it's not that intelligent. Like, so they attract it with the, like, inflatable tube men things, but then they
Mhm.
realize that the tube men have eyes and it attacks things that have eyes. So,
Yeah.
um, so it's and they use that to their advantage. Like they
Yeah.
um do he puts shiny eyeballs on the back of his head or like reflectors that look like eyes, and he rides the horse, and it makes the thing chase him in a really like
Yeah.
that shot was epic on the big
Yeah.
screen. Yeah, dude.
No, that yeah. Very reminiscent. Well, I was gonna say very. It just had an old Western style to it, which I think was one of the bigger inspirations that I think Jordan Peele said it was for the film. But going back to the eyes thing, that was one of the things that it took me a second to kind of get because I think in one of the very first scenes with the horse, where OJ is at the studio and they're filming with the horse, and the guy comes up with like the mirror and reflects something in the eyes of the horse, and that's what startles it. It took me a second to kind of get that theme of not looking an animal in the eyes, and I think there even in that scene where Stephen Ewan's character as a child was hiding from Gordy. Uh, Even though Gordy was rampaging and had murdered or killed and maimed everybody, and he looked at Stephen Ewan's character and he was like going to fist bump. There was still a veil over his face, so they weren't making direct eye contact. So it kind of still plays off of that whole I don't know, like aggression threat thing.
Yeah, like I
I,
guess
I don't know. Yeah.
uh, animals take like eye contact as a challenge.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
it puts them into fight or flight mode.
The one thing I was like, where are the eyes of the UFO though? That was where I was like, is the eye the whole? I mean, but then that's me like I guess over analyzing it. I'm just like,
Your note about
uh,
the camera, like that makes a lot of sense to me. So, like the
yeah,
most of the movie, it's round like a flying saucer, but like we were saying at
yeah,
the end, like it kind of unfolds, and there's that square part at the front, and it's
yeah,
kind of like it implies that that's the front of the creature, like and the your note about a camera lens that makes a lot of sense. So maybe that's how it's taking
yeah,
in image.
yeah. So from the underside, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, yeah. Especially it just when it unfold that was the biggest part that I think had I not gone into it would have had a hard time following the unfolding and the giant shape. It was just such a weird creature to see, and I'm thinking about monster movies like Cloverfield, where there's like a very distinct monster, but this
Right.
was such an abstract, thing that yeah, definitely had to. I saw it definitely more as symbolism for something rather than like a literal creature with literal
Like
origin.
I think
Yeah,
abstract is a good word to use.
yeah,
Like strangely geometric in a
yeah,
way. Um, no, it's just it is. You mentioned Cloverfield. We talked about King Kong. Like Godzilla.
hmm
Like those are
hmm
some of those creatures are like oddly proportioned in a way. Like the Cloverfield monster has
yeah,
these really long arms, but it's like you can point out parts of it that you can identify. Like it looks like a thing that is alive, and
yeah,
or like that at least it looks like a thing that compared to other life that exists in the real world. Um, and you can like point out, you can identify its anatomy, and with
yeah.
this creature, that is not really the case. Um,
No, when it started to unfurl, I almost thought it was like a circus tent. And
yeah,
I was
that's
like,
what.
what is happening?
Yeah, the way that it like wafts and it's like
Yeah,
fabric blowing in the breeze, like a
I
kite
was
or like
so
canvas or
confused. I
something.
was like, what is going on? Yeah, it was very, very interesting for sure.
And that's not something we get like if there's anything that or there's many things, but is one thing I can absolutely applaud Jordan Peele's movies for is they are unique. He is he is one of dozens of horror films that will come out this year, and it's um probably gonna be one of the most memorable. Um,
Yeah,
I saw
that's kind of
X early this year. That was
good.
pretty crazy, but like this was something. Nope was something really special in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of something I took away from it too. I was thinking about like this was so different from anything I'm used to seeing. And it's really refreshing since every movie that's out nowadays is either a remake or a rehash or a reboot or a adaptation or something like that. And so for them to just go out with something completely different, with this weird concept, this idea, I really do hope they keep pushing, like Hollywood keeps pushing for stuff like this. I have started to get to the point where I think that Hollywood's getting a little bit bigger than itself. I guess the budgets are so big and the expectations are so high that they don't really want to take risks on stuff like this. So it is refreshing to see
I mean,
something
and
so
this
different.
movie, like, as much as I hate to say it, at at the scale this movie is, like, it is a risk. Like most
Yeah, yeah,
horror movies get made because they always make money because they are made for dirt cheap, right?
yeah,
And this
yeah,
is not, we talked about the budget early on. This is not like a $5 million horror film.
yeah.
Like, this $68 million, that's most expensive than, or more, I'm sorry, more expensive than most movies that get made, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely,
like they have to
absolutely.
be confident that it's gonna make money. And if this one doesn't make money, there might be a conversation about the next movie that Jordan Peele's allowed to make, which kind of sucks. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, no,
I
definitely.
think it's
I
gonna do
heard he.
okay. It has broken even after a week. So it's only up from here. I think we're doing good. I don't think it's at risk for. I'm just
Yeah,
making a point about budgets and horror
yeah.
movies.
No,
They draw a crowd, but they're made for cheap generally.
do you think would you classify Nope as a horror movie, like purely horror? Because I see it more as like a sci. I mean, I, like a sci-fi thriller.
It's like a sci-fi western kind of.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's definitely some horror elements to it, but yeah, I kind of see it more as like this like sci-fi adventure thriller thing, like an amalgamation of a couple of
Yeah,
different
and it's
genres.
like
Yeah,
it's really smart too. Like we've talked about, like how it's talking about animals, and it has a really
yeah,
interesting, like, kind of meta approach to spectacle. And it's like
yeah.
it's also, their way out of their financial troubles is like, wait, there's aliens. Let's get them on film. Let's make money off of it. Like, so it's really like it's kind of cynical in a way, but they have the crotchety old movie director guy, and they're trying to make a movie and save their movie careers by making this film of the alien. Like,
Yeah, one of the things I actually did like was that they alluded to the Pentagon actually releasing, alien footage like a couple of years. I think it was 2020. And I remember telling my friends this all the time, like, because like I said, I'm an alien buff. I'm a big, they're out there, blah blah blah. But I remember saying to my friend, I was like, the Pentagon literally just confirmed that they have footage of unidentified flying objects. They don't know where they are. They don't know where they come from. They don't know how they work. They don't know how they work, how they move. They know that what they do is something that's incapable for any technology that we have today. And yet they announced that, and no one batted an eye. Like it was literally just like another day. It was like, oh, that's cool, but also Corona and Trump, and I was just like, right, but they just said that aliens are here. They don't know, and nobody cares. Not one person's like, maybe we should think about this a little bit. I thought that was
did they confirm aliens? They
well,
confirmed
okay.
that
They didn't.
there
They
is a
didn't confirm
that
aliens,
they confirmed unidentified flying or UAPs, uh,
UAPs,
um,
but
uh, phenomenon.
unidentified aerial phenomenon. Yeah,
Um, oh yeah, so
yeah. They
and I
so
am,
yeah. They didn't confirm aliens, but yes, they confirmed that these things exist. They are large. We don't know where they come from. They apparently like to live in our oceans, and
and
they
for the
move in
record,
ways
like
that
I think it's irresponsible to think that, like, with the vastness of the universe, there is not life out there somewhere. I don't know if they're traveling to
100.
Earth, but there is life out there in somewhere. Like,
It has to be, even if and then of course you getting more into like the theory part of it. Like even if they're just like they live in the ocean. Maybe they're not extraterrestrial, but they're just I don't know. The fact is that they came out with official news that said, hey, we confirm all of these things that everyone had theories about for decades. We're actually coming out and saying, yeah, they're real. We don't know what they are. And not one person batted an eye. And I just remember thinking that was so, I was like, why is there not being more attention paid to this right now? It was, yeah, I don't know. So the fact going with the whole spectacle thing, I found that very fascinating because like the first thing that you would think that if you see a UFO, you won't be concerned for your safety or you know whether or not you know it's trying to kill you. You just want to take a picture of it so you can make money, and then hopefully that makes you famous.
I just Google searched government confirms UFOs. ABC News reported on May 17th, 2022, Pentagon now reports about 400 UFO encounters. We want to know what's out there. Officials are reasonably sure pyramid-shaped objects in one video were dropped. Okay, that's one video out of 400.
Right.
I'm not going to read the article, but this is a
Well, I
uh,
think they have a whole. I mean, outside of what the Space Force, there is actual a legit division that they have dedicated to aerial phenomena. You know what I mean? So something's there. Something's there.
um. So, is there? It's obvious we liked the movie. Is there anything you want to mention that we haven't talked about yet?
Oh, I think we covered most of it. It's a very smart film. Loved it. Thought provoking. It's a fun film too. I think, which is
It's
definitely
I
important.
don't know if it's I don't think it's his best movie, but I think
Yeah.
it's the most I would say it's the most fun. Like, like Get Out is like a mentally taxing, intense experience. And
Right.
this movie is
Right.
just like it's like a ton of fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say it's a fun summer blockbuster. I think Jordan Peele when he was interviewed about it, he said he wanted to create something that everyone could enjoy and that everyone could interpret in their own way, which I think is definitely something that you take away from because there's a lot of big questions that don't get answered, which normally would annoy me. But I think plays to the strengths of the film personally. Like where is this alien creature from? Where is it from? And why is it here? You know, how did it get here? Stuff like that. But again, going back to the theme of it, I think it plays to the strengths of the film. And I do tend to like certain open endedness, at least like when it comes to like Inception, is he still in a dream? Is he not in a dream? Stuff like that where you can kind of like conceptualize it yourself. And there's a lot to unpack and kind of conceptualize in the film that I like a lot. So, yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I will add, you mentioned jellyfish. The
Yeah.
imagery in this movie like really sticks in my head, especially the craziness of the creature. Like, and
Yeah.
um it's the Wikipedia says in particular its final biblical angel inspired by on Genesis Evangelion creatures such as jellyfish, octopi, and squid imagine a hypothetical uh undiscovered previously extinct sky predator. So that's um
Okay.
described by Jordan Peele and a Caltech professor who helped him design it, basically. Um
Okay. That was my first thought. Jellyfish, something of that line. Yeah, something aquatic that's in the air for
um
sure.
and I gotta touch on Hoyte van Hoytema, the cinematographer. Like the imagery of this film is very striking. Like
Yes.
I loved the flying saucer flying the horse and like the look of the
Yeah.
creature, and then the scene at the beginning and like partway through the movie with the chimpanzee and he's looking at him through the veil of like that he's hiding under a
Yeah.
table and he looks at him through the tablecloth. Like
Yeah.
some of these images are like gonna stick with me. And it's some because
Beautiful.
some of them are cool and some of them are just straight terrifying. Um,
I that this again the scene with the raining blood and just I think there's a moment where the lightning flashed and you just see the shadow of the UFO. that I still get chills.
You're sitting in your truck and a UFO flies over and you peek out. Are you gonna get out and take a look? Or are you gonna say nope and stay hidden?
That's a hard nope. That was a hard nope. Absolutely not. I would live in my truck. I would. That's where I will stay for the rest of my life.
So Nope has a one last note here. Um, Interesting context for the title. He was on Jordan Peele was on the Smartless podcast last week with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett, um, and he talked about this. First of all, you see a thing and you say, "Nope, I'm not messing with that shit." Yeah, so it's something that several characters say several times in the movie.
Yeah.
It's also kind of an acronym thing. It stands for "Not of Planet Earth." Which I hadn't considered until watching that or
Oh,
listening to that podcast.
okay.
So
Okay. Actually, okay, I like that because
yeah,
I mean, not for nothing. Like the name was odd to me. Like it's a fun name. Like I love it. Nope. But that kind of makes more sense into yeah. Okay. I like that. All right.
and
How about that?
yet again, Jordan Peele movies they all have very simple titles that
Mm-hmm.
kind of can mean a lot of different things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is no exception to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
100%.
about there? We mentioned earlier on that the characters in this movie they're from a family who's descended from the horse jockey that was in the first moving picture.
Mm-hmm.
That horse jockey was an African American man who is
Mm-hmm.
at this point there's no record of who that person is. Um, and so
Yeah.
this is this movie kind of takes a historical kind of unfortunate thing and then tries to make something cool springing out of that idea. But
Yeah. Very, very Jordan Peele.
yeah, um,
Kind
but
of
it's
taking real world horror or real world like misfortune and adding an extra flair to it. So
yeah,
yeah,
and bringing attention to it. Like this is
yeah,
it's a real historical thing that
yeah,
and it's there are a lot of reasons why that person's name isn't known, but that's just that's
history.
yeah. Well, welcome to American history, people.
You
Um,
know,
but it's
it's fun.
it's just very it's a cool premise for the movie, and
Yeah,
it's a an important as a guy who's really into movie history, it's a real it's cool to bring attention to these things that a lot of people don't think about.
yeah.
That's just interesting.
And that's why again I hope that we keep doing it. I hope we keep doing it in smart ways like this, like Nope and Get Out. Like I think Jordan Peele is really good about taking um, very complex or sensitive topics and kind of distilling it into a format that everyone can enjoy and take away from or take something away from it. And so long as we keep adding to the conversation, in a very uh, creative way. I'm always for it for sure. Yeah.
And on that note, I
Yeah.
think that's a great place to wrap up. So,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on the show, Brian. Really appreciate having you. Hope to have you again. But
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
yeah, Nope is we've said it already. Yet another fantastic film from Jordan Peele, and I can't wait to see what his next one is. Um,
Yeah. See it in theaters. See it
yes,
in
this
theaters while
is
you can.
uh, n- Get Out and Us. You should watch when you have a chance, but check this one out while it's on the big screen because it's the
Yeah.
you're going to benefit from.
One hundred
Um,
percent. Yeah.
and if you this has been Engine25 reviews. If you like this, hit that subscribe button, and I'm gonna be back in a couple of weeks with Prey, I think, from it's the new Predator film that's gonna release on Hulu on August 5th, I think.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And in the meantime, folks, go watch a movie.